Mission that may seem impossible. A new HBO docu-comedy show is trying to tackle airline safety by reenacting cockpit crises.
I've been studying commercial aviation disasters as a hobby, and I started to notice a disturbing pattern in the causes of these crashes. 15 years ago, you recommended role-playing exercises. The FAA
said no. For whatever reason, they're just not going there.
I do have some experience with creating elaborate role-playing scenarios, and I do have money to put towards this.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
Let's work together to save some lives.
So the Rehearsal stars comedian Nathan Fielder, who found that a main contributing factor of commercial airplane crashes is due to miscommunication in the cockpit. First officers, he says, might be too intimidated by their captains to speak up. In the show, Fielder creates full-scale replicas like the Houston airport and then has real-life pilots rehearse for different outcomes. To help spread the word about cockpit communication, or miscommunication in this case, Fielder sought out help from our next guest, retired National Transportation Safety Board member John Goglia. John, thanks for being with us this morning. The show is getting a lot of attention, and you could say furthering the conversation necessarily about airline safety. To begin, congratulations. I know you're going to be inducted into the National Aviation Hall of Fame this year, so congrats on that. And air travel, by and large, safe but far from perfect. I'm curious, with your experience, what would you say is the biggest challenge right now the industry faces in terms of safety?
Capacity problems at airports like JFK and Newark, and a number of other ones around the country. We just have too many airplanes trying to land on too few airports.
Well, that's a tough problem. What's the fix? We aren't going to fly fewer planes, are we?
Well, we may have to in certain airports. And the Secretary of Transportation is looking at that now. And, we have physical limits on how many airplanes an airport can handle per hour. And we've been pushing on the maximum at certain airports for a while. So it needs to be reviewed again, and the procedures for those airports need to be reviewed again to make sure that we're operating at the highest levels of safety.
So Newark is an example of that. Are there other airports that worry you that are over capacity?
Well, Chicago is another one. They've taken the action of adding that third extra runway, the last runway, which has helped their safety considerably. But many of our airports are at or approaching their limits. And people want to fly today. People want to go someplace. So it's a balance between what the airlines want to provide, the passengers' demand, and the government's ability to satisfy both of those parties.
Has this been a slow build to get to this busyness level? And where do you think the buck stops, John? Who should carry and shoulder the most responsibility in addressing this issue?
It has to be the federal government. They have to handle, because they're responsible for the ATC network. So they control the flow of airplanes, and they just need to say, we can handle X number of airplanes per day into this location, and sit the parties down and have them adjust their schedules accordingly.
Let's talk about communication for a moment, and that was brought up as a big part of the show. Nathan Fielder, the comedian who stars in the show The Rehearsal, actually trained for 2 years to become a licensed Boeing 737 pilot, flew a plane full of actors posing as passengers. The FAA responded to his criticisms about pilot miscommunication in the cockpit. Here's what he said during an interview that you both did on CNN.
That's dumb. They're dumb. And here's the issue, is that they do, like, I trained to be a pilot, and I'm a 737 pilot. I went through the training. The training is someone shows you a PowerPoint slide saying, if you are a co-pilot and the captain does something wrong, you need to speak up about it. That's all. That's the training.
Did he strike a chord with you on communication? Is this equally a serious issue as is capacity?
It's an issue. Communications in the cockpit has been a concern of the NTSB for a very long time, decades.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.